What finally spurred Louisiana's economy was the advent of World War II. The state became a crucial location for the United States military as the nation readied for battle.
0 hour in Louisiana, the greatest field exercise in American military history, with over 40,000 motorized vehicles and 500,000 men.
Louisiana was the site of many training camps and of the 1940 Louisiana maneuvers, which were the biggest maneuvers ever held by the United States Army.
2,000 officer referees keep score as the Army puts the accent on tank warfare and anti-tank defense.
George Patton was a part of those maneuvers. Dwight Eisenhower made his reputation in the Louisiana maneuvers.
There were 400,000 people involved in maneuvers. There were just an awful lot of soldiers in Louisiana, primarily in the central Louisiana. It ended the Depression for central Louisiana. The city of Pineville went from 26,000 in 1940 to 58,000 in 1950.
During the maneuvers in 1940 and 1941, mock battles were carried out over some 30,000 square miles of Louisiana soil. Before the end of the war, more than 1 million servicemen would receive their training at Fort Polk near Leesville.
Louisiana made its contribution and then some to the Second World War, both in food, of course, and cotton. And it was a place where German POWs captured in North Africa were sent and put to work, mainly in the cane fields, which the Germans hated.
Once the war began, Louisiana and her coastline actually became the scene of battle.
It was German submarines who came over in January and February, got across the Atlantic and got down into the Gulf of Mexico, and then right off the Louisiana coast began sinking oil tankers on their way up to the factories in the Northeast. So these submarines could come up at night, look through the periscope, and there would be a ship silhouetted against the sky by the lights on land. And boom, and they'd let them have it. The Germans called it the happy hunting ground.
On shore in New Orleans, thousands of workers were constructing a unique amphibious landing craft for a man named Andrew Higgins.
He was designing flat-bottom boats for the oil companies, which were then exploring in the bayous of Louisiana. And he built this boat that later became known as the Higgins boat. A little more than 30 feet long with a flat bottom that could turn around in its own length. And he could put a ramp on it that could drop down so that a whole platoon of men, 30 men, could get off immediately and start firing right away. Every American soldier who went ashore in an invasion in World War II did so in a boat built in New Orleans at Higgins Industries. If Andy Higgins had not designed and then built those landing craft, we never could have gone in over an open beach. The whole strategy of the war would have been different. Adolf Hitler called Andy Higgins the new Noah.
Dwight Eisenhower, Supreme Commander of the Allied forces in Europe, called him the man who won the war. Louisiana gave the nation inspiring war heroes. Some are well known, such as General Claire Chennault from Tensas Parish, whose air squadron was the celebrated Flying Tigers. There were many others too, not so renowned to history, who helped win the war.
Louisiana also contributed more than its fair share of soldiers to the war effort. Men who joined up, more volunteered out of Louisiana in proportion to the population than from any other state.
When I got to the beach, I found that the traffic control officer, who was a colonel, had become a casualty. And so I then was put in the position as a 23-year-old Army captain of being the traffic control officer for Omaha Beach.
Less than a year after the Allies landed on the beaches of Normandy, the war in Europe was won. Victory over Japan would soon follow.
No one forgets VJ Day. In New Orleans, the strippers came out of the bar on Bourbon Street. They came into the traffic on Canal and took all their clothes off. The whole country went crazy.
When the war ended and soldiers returned, they found that Louisiana was becoming a very different place than the one they had left. All along the Mississippi River, between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, petrochemical plants were constructed or expanded. Oil production in the state jumped from 100 million barrels per year in 1940 to double that amount by the end of the decade. And the Standard Oil refinery in Baton Rouge came to employ 10,000 workers.
Electricity came to homes in Louisiana during the 1940s, many homes that had never had it before. Louisiana was urbanized. Cities like Monroe, Shreveport, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria grew rapidly. And there were many, many changes.